Okay, I totally jinxed myself. I was like, I'm going to make a rookie mistake. I know it.
Never leave the meeting.
I know. I just clicked and it was fast. And all of a sudden it just did that. Okay. So what's the lag time we have over on YouTube? I think we're. Okay, I totally jinxed myself. Shoot. Now I gotta see. Now I gotta. I was like, I'm here to entertain everyone. Okay. Now I'm going to press record. Nope, we're still recording. Okay. I thought if I left the meeting, I might have to re-record. So I'll be editing all this out. So, okay, guys, we're live. I'm going to introduce Mike Bledsoe here in just a second, and we're having some fun already. So stay tuned. There's more fun to be had. All right. So welcome everybody to the Pool Party Podcast. I'm your host tomorrow, and I'm so excited that we have the special Mike Bledsoe, the gregarious, infamous, famous, all these fun titles for him, strong coach. And I'm so elated that he decided to join our podcast today. And this is the podcast where we jump in the deep end on taboo subjects. So today we're going to be talking about health freedom and inner work. We're going to talk about taking responsibility for your own health. And then we're going to jump into some rapid fire questions for Mike. And then we're going to get into, I hope, some wild boar talk. So
perfect.
There you have it. Okay, Mike, welcome. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. You're like,
I like the taboo subjects thing. I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, okay. That's what I signed up for. Great.
You didn't even know that, did you?
No, not that one. But I would have been down no matter what.
You like surprises. So
I love surprises.
Me too. All right. So, okay, I'm just going to give a quick intro with you. So Mike Bledsoe, everyone, Navy veteran. He created the first CrossFit gym in 2007 in Memphis, Tennessee. And in 2012, he created Barbell Shrugged. Oh, wait, I have to mention that you slept in the gym for 8 months when he created that gym in Memphis, the CrossFit gym.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2012, created Barbell Shrugged podcast. And then 2018, strong coach. He likes to travel, likes biohacking. I'm going to give just those snippets, and then I'm going to let you actually kind of give your own little intro.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been interested. I like how you mentioned biohacking. I've been interested in how to optimize the body since I was about 13. I saw some herbal remedies book on a bookshelf, and I was like, oh, it was probably a mix of that and then reading comic books. I believe, I had like this belief as a kid. I was like, okay, I can inject myself with like a spider that's got radioactive spider, and then I could get superpowers or something.
Yeah.
So I think it was like a mix of, there's like that underlying thing going there. There's too many comic books along with stumbling across some information. And so, always doing that, trying to be superhuman, taking on tasks that are superhuman. Went in the Navy with the intention to become a Navy SEAL. That didn't work out, but that was a desire. Okay. Went into CrossFit because, it was just so hard. It's like the hardest thing I had done. The little MMA as well. And ended up, I opened up a CrossFit gym, not because I wanted to be a gym owner. I didn't want to be a business owner at all. Oh. There just wasn't one. So I had to open one. Yeah. And then came Barbell Shrug, and like you said, and it's just been did that for a number of years, and that was a roller coaster ride for sure. Those were like the rock and roll days.
Right.
Yeah. Traveling around the world and doing interviews. It was a pretty trippy time. Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of growth, but I'm here now. Don't do Barbell Shrugged anymore, but I do. I run the Strong Coach, and my passion is helping. I attract all the weirdos. Me, I attract all the weirdos, the ones that want to do it differently. And we need special help when it comes to marketing at times. So I make myself available to all the other weirdos to help us get out there more.
Nice. So is that what you went to college for? Because I read you do have a college degree, or you have some
No,
college.
I went to school for exercise sports science.
Oh,
I started as a business major, but I did
oh,
not like within halfway through the semester, I knew I wasn't going to finish in business school. And I was like, I just need to study something I enjoy.
hmm.
And I saw there was exercise sports science, and I was, uh, uh, just loved human performance. So the idea of like, oh, I can learn how to optimize that. I've already been doing that. So that was an easy one. And it wasn't until I didn't study anything around business or with marketing until I was a year and a half into my gym. And I was sleeping in it because I couldn't pay rent.
Yeah.
I was about as broke as you can get. And I broke down and I was just like, I have to learn business or I'm going to have to get a job working for somebody else.
Mhm.
And my years in the Navy proved to me that working for somebody else was not a great option for my personality. So
I can't imagine someone telling you what to do, like in the Navy.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I can't either. I have dreams. I still have dreams about like, oh, I'm back in the Navy. Like I had to go back at my age now. And they're like, shave your beard. And I'm like, F you. So
Oh my God. Oh, that's funny.
yeah.
Wow. Okay, so back up just a little bit because some of like my followers, like they won't know what even barbell shrugged means. And actually, like I've heard the term float around a lot, and I heard thaddeus say it. And when I met you, and I think it was 2018 or 2019, at the Paleo FX conference, and like people were saying that, and I'm like, well, I don't like you shrug a barbell. Like I'm an art major. I don't know what that means. But it's thrown around. Can you tell everybody what that means, please?
Yeah, it is thrown around a lot. I think that 90% of the people who talk about it have no idea what it's actually in reference to.
Okay.
So you guys, it's kind of like I guess it would fall in the category of double entendre in a way.
Oh, got it.
So you can shrug barbells, and you like if you're a weightlifter, like I was an Olympic style weightlifter, you're supposed to shrug under the bar. You shrug and then pull under the bar when you do a snatch or a clean and jerk. But really, the name came from the book Atlas Shrugged. So it was an ode to Ayn Rand, and because Ayn Rand she wrote another book called The Fountainhead that made a huge impact on me when I was in the Navy.
Okay.
That actually helped push me out of the Navy.
Oh.
And and her philosophy of objectivism had a big influence on me. And so as we were sitting around going, what are we going to call this podcast? Barbell Shrug came up. It wasn't something that when it came up, it wasn't suggested by me. It was by my friend, Chris Moore. And when he suggested it, I was kind of like, it's okay. And then we circled around 30 other names, and that's the one that stuck. And it's interesting that show it was the most popular show in fitness and nutrition for about 5 years running. Wow. It was always in the top 10 on iTunes, and we were the #1 rated podcast. So we had more 5-star ratings, and we had more positive comments and stuff like that left on iTunes back when iTunes, was the podcasting platform. Mm-hmm. So it was really wild. I never thought that I would be famous. I never inside of that world. I'm not Brad Pitt famous, obviously, but like, I've had tastes of that where I go to the CrossFit games and then people are lining up and wanting me to sign their shoes and take pictures. And it's really, really weird.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, and I knew the Atlas Shrugged like thing. And so I when I hear it, I was like, wonder if that's it. But I really do. I love how it makes you stop and go, what the fuck is he talking about? And why is it barbell? And why is it this shrug thing? And maybe there's some mechanical thing, right? Like, so I maybe thought that.
Yeah.
But I totally, I don't remember Fountainhead. I don't know if I ever got through it, but all of my like architect friends were all about Ayn Rand and Fountainhead. And
Yeah, the Fountainhead. Yeah, it's about an architect who,
Right.
made his own way. And
Yeah.
it
And
was,
I went to an architectural college. So, like people were, just gaga about that.
I would say
So,
that book was primarily about self-expression and following your heart. And through the lens of it is a story of an architect who did that. So yeah, I
cool.
think anyone who's into art would actually really enjoy that book.
Yeah. Now, was there a movie? There's a movie series made from that, right?
They did the Atlas Shrugged.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did a 2 or 3 part movie. Having read the book, I thought it was terrible.
Yeah.
I'm glad that more people were introduced to some of the concepts because it was in movie format, but it was not. The book is about 100 times better than the movie.
But yeah, they usually are.
Yeah.
I just got done reading. Have you heard of a female aviator from like the 1930s named Beryl Markham?
No.
I know nobody's heard of her. And you know what? She was the first person, not only the first woman, but she was the first person to fly from the UK all the way to Nova Scotia solo.
Wow.
She went west. She went against the wind, like against the whatever. And someone dared her to do it. And she was like, okay. And then she got off the plane. She actually crash landed. This is a huge story about it. But I watched the movie or documentary after, and I'm like trying to explain to Thaddeus. I'm like, okay, there's so much more that happened in the stupid documentary, like says. So
yeah.
It's always but that was a really good. I feel like I lost my best friend when I got done reading that book.
Oh wow.
It is, and actually Hemingway said she was friends with Hemingway, and he said that he wishes he could write like her. Like
wow.
Yeah, she is just a incredible author. It was so poetic, and like the shit she grew up in East Africa, and is like the stuff she did. It's unimagible. You probably have a life like she has.
Maybe I don't know. I have to read the book.
Yeah, right.
I have to read the book.
I'll send you a copy. I need to pass it on to somebody.
Please.
So,
please.
Okay, so we're gonna do just a quick little rapid fire thing with you. I want to have some fun and just like mix it up a little bit and not just be all like, oh, we gotta do all this serious talk and blah blah. And
cool.
and it was inspired by you because on your website it says like if you're not having fun, then stop. So
yeah.
So I was like looking for inspiration as an artist, right? I'm like looking for inspiration. I'm out in the park with my dog and I'm like, I want to ask Mike some questions. And my son, who is 18, he just moved to Bozeman, Montana on Monday. And it's only Wednesday. It's only been 2 days. And I'm like,
yeah.
So, yeah, it's been rough. And so what I did is I went into the park. I think you'll appreciate this as an artist, right? A lyrical artist, perhaps podcaster. I was actually channeling him. I'm like, what would Michelangelo do? Because he's an author and he has the quirkiest mind. Like the stuff this kid says blows my mind every single day. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to channel Michelangelo and hopefully he's watching right now. And all of a sudden I was like, well, just ask Mike some rapid fire quirky questions. Let's get to know him a little bit instead of just, I don't like to
do it.
Anything. Yeah. Like, so, okay, here we go. So rapid fire. Are you ready? They're going to start out a little bit like tame and then they're going to maybe progress. But I'm going to answer like quick. Okay. So like it's
okay. I'll do my best.
There's no lag time to think and let other
sometimes get in trouble though.
There's nothing you're gonna get in trouble. Well, I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out. Okay, getting to know Mike. How weird are you on a scale, according to you, on a scale of 1 to 10?
According to me, like 7.5.
Okay. How politically incorrect are you, according to you, on a scale of 1 to 10?
Like a 9.
I knew it. I actually had a premonition about that. Okay. How big of a clean freak are you on a scale of 1 to 10?
8.5.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
Surprises me. Okay. How easily?
Not always. I haven't always been that way. That's something that's come with age for some reason.
Yeah. I'm always interested in how tidy people are. I'm a totally like messy artist, and Thaddeus is super tidy, and he's like, oh, dear. This is my background, my I'm just like painting everywhere. Okay. How easily can you laugh at yourself on a scale of 1 to 10? This seems obvious.
9.
Yeah. Okay.
I find myself laughing at people will wonder why I'm laughing, and I'm like, I'm just laughing at myself right now.
I love that. Well, we're in good company. Okay, truth or dare?
Truth.
There's no end to that. It was just one or the other.
That's the most nervous I've gotten in a while.
I know. I saw that. I was like, oh
no. What's about to happen?
Okay, Liberty Gibbet or Doppelganger?
Doppelganger.
Okay, Ben Affleck or Matt Damon?
Ben Affleck.
Really funny. Okay, turtleneck or V-neck?
V-neck.
Okay, laughter yoga or hula hoop class?
Laughter.
Oh, wow. Okay, flat earth or Turtle Island?
Turtle Island.
Yeah. Breast milk or urine?
Breast milk. Breast milk.
Okay. Hold on. Okay, and then MST 3000 or the really bad 70s, or watch the really bad 70s movie. Which one?
Bad 70s movie.
Really? I love that. Oh my God, I didn't think you would say that. That's great. Okay, that's it. That's the rapid fire. So there you are, folks. Mike Bledsoe, show's over. We're going to go home now. All right.
That was fun. I haven't done anything like that in a while. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I was like, you know what? Let's break up this this craziness. Okay. Well, I suppose we should probably get to it because we have some questions on YouTube. So, let's see here. Can you combine? Okay, so we actually have like a question that is for like the powerlifting gains question. We'll just go right to it. Cool. Can you combine cardio and powerlifting, or do you reduce powerlifting gains?
It depends on where you're at as an athlete. So, if you're a novice athlete, or man, it's kind of a hard one to answer. So it really has, I'd say the biggest thing you have to think about is how much total time do you have to train and recover. If you're a full-time athlete, then cardio can actually help with the strength gains, but I would only add cardio in when I'm complete with my strength training. So if you are having to decide between strength training and cardio, or aerobic conditioning, we could say, then you're gonna need to do strength training. Once you've hit your certain volume with strength training, I would then consider aerobic training. Now, the one thing that most people who are not as experienced, if you've been training less than 5 years, you may not be dialed into your recovery yet. So what most athletes do is they overtrain, under recover. So there's really, and there is a motto out there that says there's no such thing as overtraining. There's only under recovery. Okay. And so you have to consider, your work, your family, all these things, any stressor, all stressors are cumulative. And so the best athletes are the ones that they train, they eat, sleep, and play video games. Right? We try to remove as many stressors out of their life. If you're having to work an 8-hour-a-day job, then the amount of cardio that you can throw in is minimal. If you have a family and there's a lot of demands on you, if you want to maximize strength, it's minimal. That's why you'll see a lot of powerlifters hardly do any, is because they actually can't recover enough. And it also, if you're wanting to be if you want to be the best powerlifter ever, you probably want to get your cardio through things like dragging a sled. I think Louis Simmons is probably a good guy who he passed away this past year, but he's a good guy to look into. But powerlifting if you're truly someone who only cares about squat, bench, deadlift, then you want to make sure that everything you're doing is making those better. But there is something to be said, especially the more advanced you become as an athlete, the longer you spend in it, doing various things outside of those lifts are going to give you more bang for your buck. When you're new, just doing those lifts are going to give you the most bang for your buck. So there's a lot of variables there. I hope whoever asked that was satisfied with they got something out of that.
Yeah, so he says, so it's Michael Hood, it's a friend of ours. Do you know Michael Hood? He's an expert forager. I think he lives in Indiana.
No, but I'd like to meet him.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. He's been to a couple of our retreats, or at the Point retreats. So he says that he said, I'm retired, so I run 10K daily, power lift 3 times a week, CrossFit 2 more times. I am never sore. And he says I have his book collection. So he must know that guy you're talking about that you mentioned, the sled thing.
Oh, Louis Simmons. Yeah. Yeah, I would just try periodization. I would look at some periodization models. If you're running 10K every day, I would periodize the running as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's a lot of, like, to me, that's insane.
Yeah. I mean, I walk maybe 2 miles a day. And so for some people, that's really hard.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's easy.
Yeah.
So,
I
if you do it all the time, it's not a big deal.
Yeah. And hiking, like that's how I like kickboxing. I like to mix things up. But when you're talking about like the weightlifting and like all of that, oh my gosh, and even CrossFit, like I've tried all of it, not obviously Olympic barbell stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is insane. And intuitively to me, I'm like, that's too much for my body. That's like not okay for my body. I'm toast by 3 o'clock. If I do that.
Yeah. Someone who's retired like that, I'd be curious. You'll know, because you'll stop getting better. If you stop getting better, then you just got to change something up.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So the other question is, what is health freedom and what does it mean to you?
Health freedom is really about, we have to get into the conversation about rights, right? And so you're either someone who believes that some people have more rights than others. And if you fall into, and most people do, most people, when you ask them on the face of it, do you believe that some people have more rights than others? Almost everyone would be like, no, everyone has equal rights. But most people are full of shit. And the reason is because the people who say they believe in equal rights are the same ones that advocate for someone being able to tell someone else how to live their life. And so the truth is most people will just go nuts in a protest and not understand what they're talking about. And the reality of it is the people who want other people to be controlled by quote unquote government believe that certain people have the rights to tell them what to do. So that's the first thing is, do you believe in equal rights or not? So health freedom exists inside of this idea of equal rights, which is very rarely actually practiced. It's not something that we witness regularly. So I think that kind of like, that says a lot right there. Is I have a right over my labor. I have a right over my property. I have a right to my life, my physical body. This body is, I look at it as property rights. Mm-hmm. My body, this is my property. And as long as my property isn't impeding on your property, as long as I'm not harming you, then anything that I do is right. Mm-hmm. Anything that I do that impedes your ability to do what you want to do, mm-hmm. that would be wrong. Mm-hmm. And so it gets a little dicey a lot of times when people start talking about, there's some nuance that comes up, right? And so since we're supposed to be talking about taboo subjects, I'll just dive into it. Uh, like a lot of times people will go, well, you don't have the right to get somebody else sick because you refuse to wear a mask or get vaccinated, right?
Mhm.
And in law, the person, in order to find somebody guilty of something, in order for someone to be wrong in a court of law, there has to be a person that has a standing in the matter that was harmed, and there needs to be physical evidence of that harm. And so the issue is not once has anyone been able to provide that evidence. And so it's a bit of a slippery slope if people want to get away from that, because now we can just start making anything up. We can just start saying that, and people already do believe this. They believe that if I say something they disagree with and they have an emotional response to it, they will call that trauma, and which is associated with violence. So you'll start hearing people say like, you conducted violence on my being because of what you said. And even if they don't say that, that's pretty much how they behave. And they make people wrong for allowing their thoughts to flow out of their mouth and aren't willing to engage in that conversation. So so that, we got rights, we got, how does that line get drawn? How do we define that? How do we define harm? These are all things that are not commonly talked about, but I think it's actually very simple, and it doesn't lend itself to what most people want, though. Most people want to control others because they don't feel safe in themselves. And so it's all out of fear. And when I've worked with individuals, I've coached people at a high enough level to know the psychology behind this. And that is, people, when they experience fear, they look for what they can control. And so the way that works in society is when a society at large doesn't feel safe for whatever reason, they try to create control, which is ultimately an illusion. So there are things that you can control, but the things that people are trying to control is outside of themselves. If I'm trying to control another person, I don't like the way how you're making me feel, you have to shut your mouth. Then that's a problem.
Yeah. Right. So it sounds like you have studied like natural law and like sovereignty and, a lot of that stuff. And my husband has done that too. And I've taken some, courses with him. And that all stuff gets so muddy sometimes. Right. And I'm just like, oh, like, why can't we just all get along?
Yeah, it's interesting.
But it's,
yeah, there's do we want to get into what's going on in the world right now?
I mean, I don't really, whatever, wherever it goes, if it's going to flow there, then let's let it flow. I don't, let's be controversial. I mean, that's what this is about.
Yeah. I'm going to stay on the let's look at both sides.
Okay.
Type of conversation, because Roe versus Wade was just overturned, right? It was a judgment. It was a ruling by a court, and the court's job is to find out if a law is constitutional or not. And the Constitution is a fairly brief document that is there to, its primary job is to ensure that the government it holds the government back from impeding on people's rights, right? To ensure freedom in a lot of ways. That's the intention. And so one thing that I think people should understand is the courts don't create laws. They only judge whether it's constitutional or not. And so it's supposed to be a limit on the federal government, but it's run by it's part of the federal government. So it's kind of like it's supposed to act as an arbiter between the states and the federal government, even though it is one of the three branches of the federal government. And the three branches are supposed to balance each other out. but also it's supposed to, the Supreme Court, an arbiter between the states and the federal government. So the in the Constitution specifically, it doesn't address this particular subject of abortion. And it is a gray area. I think I personally think it's a good idea to let the states handle it. So let states, let most laws be handled at the most local level possible.
Right.
Is better, is what's going to create a good situation for most people. But and this is a gray area because there's two views. It comes down to two views. So one person is saying it's a woman's choice over her own body, right? Which absolutely, like every human being should have control over their own body. Like no one should force you to do anything with it. Nobody should keep you from doing anything with it as long as you're not harming anybody else. But that's the rub, is on the other side, you look at like people who are on the pro-life side of things, and they say that that's a human life before it's born.
Yeah.
And so really anytime with this discussion, so one is constitutionality. We have the legal aspect. We go, okay, legally from a constitutional perspective, I think that the judgment was correct from pure legal, not moral, not right or wrong, not freedom. This is only about the role of that that court in relation to its job. And then on the moral side, where people get bent out of shape, there's a disagreement about when life starts. And so because it's something that can't be widely agreed upon, that makes it very difficult to make a blanket law for 350 million people. So again, and it's like my fiance, she's pro-choice. So she has a hard, like just trying to consider the other side is very difficult. And the other side is the same exact way. Yeah. I think if you're a woman, it's so emotionally charged, and the media does a good job of like really stoking that fire.
Oh yeah.
I think as a man, it's a lot easier for me to sit here and be objective about these things. But for a woman, that shit is like, I think that hit every woman harder than any guy. Yeah, for sure. One way or another. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is. And it's anything that's divisive though. So my take on all of that is like, if there's something that's trying to create a divide and perpetuate division in something, I'm going to actually just take some steps away from it. Yeah. Because I mean, I know you have to address things. You have to, not stick your head in the sand, but I follow this woman named Lori Ladd, and she has kind of been a teacher of that for me. Like if it doesn't bring people together and bring unity and it perpetuates a divide, take some steps back and be an observer, right? And look at it from a 60,000 foot perspective. And it's like, okay, what do we do? What do we do? And I like what you said about like, now it becomes like a state issue. And I think that's like the reality of it though, right? Like it will become a state issue. And then now we're going to be divisive by states and more so on more things, right? Like just one more thing. And I also look at it as like, oh, it's like a little distraction. It's big distraction. It's a shiny object, another thing to keep you, over here and distracted from another thing I really want to talk to you about is like the inner work, right? Like we're the spiritual being. And I don't think we are put on this planet to even, like have to worry about that. So it's not right. Like we're spiritual beings first, and we get that flipped around. And I think that sometimes we're like, I don't know, when I met Thaddeus, Mike, I was like, I think you've got too much of the biohacker outside of yourself stuff that we're constantly looking for another gadget, another, thing outside. And intuitively women kind of like know that a little bit, maybe first, some do, and usually, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, I just kind of like spun his head around and was just like, wait a minute, what about meditation? And what about, you know, like going in and like figuring all that stuff out? And to my surprise, he had like gone through the Byron Katie work and had done a lot of this stuff. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. And so we just kind of
Byron Katie is so good.
Oh, she's so brilliant. And like putting our heads together and becoming, you know, like this yin yang of like, okay, well, he actually gets me out to the weightlifting bench. So we do it outside. We have our gym set up outside. And that's good for me because maybe I'm a little too much, you know, like, and it's a balance, right? So, but yeah, okay. So back to like health freedom. We can take it into like, you know, like these hot topics or like what in your opinion though too, Mike, health freedom and taking responsibility, can we kind of pivot and go into like that
piece? I mean, it all
piece?
ties in together.
Yeah.
I normally lead with that over like external events, but the external events are hot, so it's worth talking about. Bring listeners in.
Push that button.
You're gonna either hate me or love me or whatever, but you know, they're paying attention either way.
Right.
So
well, I think you would have to take a stand for anyone to hate you.
Yeah. I doubt it. No, people assume I stand all the time. You didn't post anything about that. You must be racist. I'm like, what happened? I was just trying to pay attention. I was just taking it all in. Like I was just trying to do the right thing.
Right.
I'm racist now. Okay.
Well, you have permission to offend, right? Like
I'm over it now.
That's awesome.
I'm over it. You know, just to take the health out and to talk about freedom, you know, there's the external experience of freedom, and which is really helpful for finding the internal and vice versa. And so emotional freedom. So we talk about emotional health, right?
Yeah.
And so I think about there's physical freedom, there's emotional freedom. I could even say there's psycho-emotional because the mind and the emotions are tied in together, right? Psycho-emotional freedom, and then spiritual freedom. But what I can talk about is I'll label this psycho-emotional freedom. We all know what physical freedom is to a degree. There's everything outside of us that's not keeping us from doing what we want to do, but also the human vehicle body is really capable. So responsibility goes hand in hand with that, because the responsibility, break it down, the ability to respond. If I want to increase my ability to respond with my physical body to many different tasks, that then a byproduct of that is freedom. I can travel. Our friend can travel 10K easily. He's created freedom for himself in that way because of his ability. And so there's that. So no one is keeping me from doing shit. That's the external. And then my body. And then we go into emotional and psychological freedom. And this one is where most people are going to have the hardest time. And there's this thing that happens when we get triggered. So something happens in the external world, or maybe in a thought just kind of drifts across our mind that triggers an event that causes us to feel threatened. And when that threat comes up, our body fills with this energy. Our mind, the psyche makes sense of that energy. This energy must mean ... And then it usually is pulling a story from childhood. This is what you made that emotion mean when you were 5 years old. And most of what you decide your emotions mean were set in pretty close to stone before the age of 7, because 7 is when your vocabulary really begins to solidify. And before that, your primary means of communication is through emotion and energy. So you start building patterns of energetic and emotional patterns, and then you're layering language on top of it. And so you're making things, as you're developing, you're making things mean certain things. And so as a culture, there's cultural memes. I think people are familiar with like the Instagram memes, but a cultural meme is just this thing of like, this is just, it's a phrase and it's true. Like time is money. It's a cultural meme. It's like, yeah, but it's not actually true. Time is time and money is money. If you believe that, you're very easy to control. So, and people, when I challenge something that's a hardcore belief, people will, what happens is they have an emotional response, there's a threat, and they can't hear any new information. And so they shut down. There's a really cool website that has a list of all the rhetorical fallacies. Let's see if I should be able to pull it up pretty easily. It's under my philosophy. There we go. Well, information is beautiful.net /visualizations/rhetorical fallacies. I don't know. I'll drop it in the chat box. Maybe you can share it.
I was gonna say, I'm trying to write that down.
No, I dropped it in the chat box. Maybe you can make it on the YouTube. Anyways, there's a really great list of rhetorical fallacies that somebody can sit down with and learn about. I think there's 42 of them, but these are basically all ways that people trick other people, either consciously or unconsciously. Okay. If you look at politics at all, there's that. So here's the thing. If you don't have any space between stimulus and response, then you lack freedom. Your ability to respond has been diminished. You're now dipping into automatic behavior. And so creating space between stimulus and response allows you to choose the response instead of it being automatic. The less time you have to respond to the stimulus, the more likely you are to just rely on old beliefs, behaviors, habits, things that were beneficial for getting you here now, but are unable to see the nuance and novelty of the current moment. And so most people are behaving emotionally as a 5-year-old to things that are happening currently right now. So if you haven't done the work, the introspection you were talking about in order to create that space, Byron Katie's work is a really great way to create space, by the way. When you get that space and you get to choose your response, because freedom comes in choice, right? And if I'm not choosing my response, if I'm just reacting all the time, then I'm not a free person. I am easily controllable. And so those of us who understand marketing, PR, people who know NLP, understand how language works. You are very susceptible to somebody who's done this work and can manipulate you. And please, most people are going to use it wisely, but the problem is 4% of the population are psychopaths. And some of them are really intelligent. The dumb ones end up in prison. The smart ones end up in office. So, and they don't experience emotions the same way we do. Right. And so they actually have a level of freedom in a way, but because they don't have empathy, they just look at everyone as cattle. So you got to be careful of those people, but you cannot understand who those people are until you've gotten in touch with your own emotions and done that work yourself. Otherwise, just having this information, I'm telling you, actually won't be that helpful. Yeah. Because you're just going to walk out the door and get triggered. And next thing you know, you got talked into, walking into a Capitol building.
With a fur vest on.
Yeah. Somebody very close to me is in court over that right now. In fact, poor judgment on their part. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Good intentions. Yeah. Poor judgment. Right. Yeah. But intentions and results do not You know, if I got credit for my intentions all the time, I'd be
Yeah.
a billionaire.
Right. Exactly. That's awesome. Oh, okay. So I love the teaching. That was really good. Like you can tell, like you're a coach. And so I had Thaddeus put in your website for the Strong Coach program.
Right.
So Mike, are those some of the things like you help people unravel in your coaching program? I mean, might as well just go into that. Or is
You
this a
know,
little outside the scope?
yeah, that's like my team is very familiar with these concepts and have actual practical use of these concepts. I'm not in the business of teaching these concepts.
Okay.
It would I'll say this. It's okay for me to use them. I understand my scope. I understand where I should stop and hand it off to somebody who's got a higher level of, like my fiance. She's a psychotherapist.
Oh, okay.
So there would be a point where I can take somebody, but then I might say, you might want to go talk to Ashley because this is you're starting to veer outside of where I might be comfortable. Right. It's rare. But for me to turn around and start teaching people, because this is some people will pick it up the way I picked it up. I wasn't classically trained. Some people will pick it up by us coaching them through these things in the way that we do it. My coaches have picked it up from me. They've trained with some of the same people I've trained with.
Right.
So these understandings, now the philosophy of these understandings, again, I don't necessarily, I'm not going out there. I'm not trying to be a guru. So, but people will pick this up just listening to podcasts like this, shows like this. They'll, start looking, teach yourself. I've had people ask me like, oh, that was really cool coaching technique you used there. Where did you learn that? I go, oh, that one I got from Mother Ayahuasca. They're like, oh, what? And I go, yeah, that was in the jungle. That was not, I didn't get that from a book. I didn't get that from a coach. I didn't get that from a therapist. I got that. And I've had instances where a therapist would see me doing something, go, wow, that's this and this technique. I go, oh, I just made it up. Yeah.
Right.
When you've done enough work on yourself, you start understanding how this shit works.
Totally.
No, I mean, what we primarily do is we teach health and fitness coaches, because the world needs health and fitness coaches way more than they do most of Western medicine for their long-term health. We help health and fitness coaches build their businesses, improve their messaging. A lot of coaches, they do have a lot of poor psycho-emotional patterning that needs to be rewritten, and we do help with that. So I don't sell that as a tool, but it is a tool that we use.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so let me just back up a little tiny bit. So who, like, if you were to say, I know you said like ayahuasca and you make up your own stuff, but who were maybe some of the more inspirational, not more, that was probably the most inspirational, but who were some of like Byron Katie and Wayne Dyer, Louise Hay, they're all my OG teachers, right? But who were maybe some of your little handful?
Anat Perry. She runs Training Camp for the Soul. I actually helped her build that company up in the beginning because the work I did with her was so impactful. I wanted it to reach more people. Anat Perry, going through some landmark education. A lot of people will hate it, but there's a lot of gold in there. I'm a big fan. I can go through just some really crazy stuff that other people are going, I don't understand how you can sit in front of that person and listen to them and take that. And I'm like, oh, they're a genius or something. They might be unbearable in these other ways, but I'm there to, I'm mining for gold over here. I mean, most of what I'm having to remove is just fucking rock, not gold.
Right.
But when I find the gold, I won.
Yeah.
So, some landmark education, not Perry, lots of trips, a lot of time spent with shamans in South America. Jed McKenna wrote a trilogy. It was probably the most impactful book I've read on spirituality.
I can't believe you said that. I hate him.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people do.
I love him and I freaking hate him. Like
Yeah.
that second book, you know, when he put the letter in at the beginning,
Yeah.
you remember that, you know what I'm talking about?
Which letter?
It's the letter, like he wrote the first book and then some lady had written him
Oh,
a
yeah.
letter.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, I love that he did that as a contrarian and all the good, right? And Thaddeus and I have this talk all the time. I'm like, fucking Judge McKenna, it's not even his name. He's a made up asshole. Like, and then I'll be like, oh, he got me thinking in ways that I needed to expand the best, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you guys don't know what we're talking about, like he is honestly, like he's a mind fuck. You
gotta be careful. You gotta make sure you're in a good place.
Yeah.
If you're not in a good place, I don't recommend it often.
I never. I've never even met anyone who's read his books.
Oh, really? Yes.
No.
Somebody needs to be in, before I recommend it, they need to be in an incredible place.
Yeah.
They got to be very good because it's a total destruction.
It is.
And there's no map home.
No.
So people listening is like, what the hell are they talking
I know.
about?
They're like, what are they talking about? Now they're going to go out and read it.
Yeah. Jed McKenna's really made a huge impact because it really allowed me to see how far and wide my beliefs go that I have zero evidence for.
Yeah.
Like real evidence.
Yeah.
Has
your fiance read the books?
Oh yeah, that was how I knew if we were going to keep dating or not.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
She had to she had to read I didn't say she had to read anything. But like I was like, oh, you might want to try these books out. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, hey, what's up? She reads it, she's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, right.
I would say yeah, if you can read the trilogy and then watch Mark Passio's 9-hour seminar on natural law, then we can hang out. Like,
yeah, I got
to watch that twice and was like, my brain is melting.
Oh, yeah. I think we got through 8 hours of that, but holy shit. Thaddeus wants to know, do you follow Jordan from Waters Above Crypto?
Jordan from what?
Waters, it's called Waters Above Crypto.
No.
He's a cool dude. You probably like him.
Okay.
He's got some good shit. And then also James True. Are you familiar? Okay. Those two dudes James True is he reminds me of Jed McKenna in like a personality. Yeah.
All right.
In ways that like are expanding in nonsense in total, like the nonsense makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So bizarre.
Sometimes I like, most of the time I'm like, I can't read those books because I don't know what part of my life will get upended.
Yep.
I'm like, there are people counting on me. Like the book is also really enjoyable to read. Like I found did you find yourself chuckling the whole time you're reading it?
Totally.
I was just chuckling all the way through, laughing at my own mind be
for sure
scrambling.
I didn't I have to admit I did not read the third one because I hated him that bad after the second one. But if you think like that's a good idea to read it, like I'll trust your
absolutely
judgment.
Here's the thing. I tell people regularly, if you're going to read it, read all three as fast as possible because it'll reduce the amount of time that you're in question about certain things.
Okay.
He doesn't really give you an answer, but
no,
he can't.
Right.
But by the way, we're talking about enlightenment, folks.
Do you think and for a person who calls himself enlightened, this is Jed McKenna, but I don't think that's his pen name.
He also talks about other people not being enlightened. He's like, he really points out what not enlightenment is. And you start going, fuck, maybe, yeah, I guess he's right. I mean, enlightenment's made up.
Yeah.
But,
right. Oh my God. So who else are like your go-tos? That quirky person.
Wait, besides, I like a little bit of Carl Jung. I like reading about archetypes. Ken Wilber has been a huge influence on me. He wrote, he's the founder of integral theory, and he wrote, so many books. The one I'm looking at on my bookshelf right now is called Integral Spirituality. But he created the 4-quadrant model, and he's combined that with spiral dynamics to give an explanation of like predictable stages of growth for humans and culture alike. So he's had a big influence. I would say like Ken Wilber's probably had one of the biggest influences on how to put things together.
Okay.
And Jed McKenna was like the best for pulling them apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Byron Katie's is like a gentle version of Jed McKenna.
Totally. Yeah.
Like you'll get the same, you can get the same message without the mess.
Totally. She's just like, she'll hold you and coddle you and then rip you apart and then coddle you.
Exactly.
Yeah. She's good. I like the word guru, and I've learned in my own like Kundalini yoga practice and teacher training that guru means bringing the light out of the darkness. And, like we think about that word guru and like how, Ram Dass went to go work with the guru. And I feel like that's obsolete now, like with the world as, I don't know, however much information that we've been given at this point in time, like we don't really need to go do that as people maybe perhaps once have, right? But yeah, it's fun to learn from all these people, but the more people that I've been listening to lately, they're like, you're your own guru. Like you don't need, and that's kind of the essence of what this podcast is about, is like, you are everything and everything is inside of you and you don't need all this other stuff. So I love that, like your first comment was like, well, I talked to Mother Ayahuasca and she gave me that download. And, like these are things that that have been so overlooked, right, by the medical industry. And I don't want to get into trash talking that because it's obvious. But, like our parents' generations have been so misguided. And I've been actually working with my own parents the last few days and talking about this stuff. And I can tell my mom's just like, what? I keep bringing some very, minimal things up to her. And I'm like, you guys have been programmed the most in our living probably world, right? When you say like that baby boomer generation, I feel.
Yeah, they're the least skeptical and they're the most trusting.
Yeah.
On one side you have like gullible, on the other side you have the skeptic. Neither one of them are great, but in the middle is where learning can happen.
Exactly.
And they tend to be, they grew up in a time when there wasn't the amount of channels they had available to them to tell them what to think about were so small.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the younger generation has been bombarded so heavily that they have learned they actually need to question a lot of things.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, it's a lot of programs that are running. I was trying to tell my mom too, like, think how many tabs you have open. And I don't like making an analogy between our brain and a computer because it's stupid, but it's an obvious one, right? And I could just see like light bulbs going off, and she's like, oh my God, like let's delete some of those. And so I gave her a Louise Hay book today, and she's open to it, which is cool. Nice. And Louise Hay gives her loving treatment. Have you read that at all?
No.
Oh, it's so beautiful. And her treatment is a paragraph, and it's all about like how you treat yourself. And it's perfect. And if I ever am reading, Jed McKenna, and I need to go back and love myself, I'm going to go read Louise Hay and get a loving treatment.
It's a good idea. Balance those out. Yeah.
I see Thaddeus posted Jed McKenna on Thaddeus. This is a bad idea.
Oh no. You just ruined somebody's life. Somebody just went from making 7 figures to living under a bridge because of you, Thaddeus.
Seriously. Beware. Oh my God. And Thaddeus is like, he's awesome. Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, oh my God. I didn't know you were like a deconstructionalist. He wants to be a recluse that lives in the mountains anyway. Yeah. So there you go.
Me too, sometimes.
Really? Yeah.
Sometimes.
Well, yeah. I think we all have that sometimes. Okay. Well, so we're at the top of the hour, Mike, and I still have like 1,000 questions for you, but let's see. I have one about leaning into pain. What do you think about that? You want to talk about that? How do you lean into pain? How do you do it?
There's a conversation about nuance there. Because not all pain is created equal. And you've heard the term.
Did you say not all pain is created equal?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah. And there's the quote that the Marines live by, which is pain is weakness leaving the body. And I added a little thing to the end of that motto, which is or a sure sign of injury.
oh,
So
yeah, I like that.
it's like there, and I think it's something that I know that I didn't get when I was younger. I didn't have the nuance between what was my body just being uncomfortable with a proper amount of stimulus that's going to give me a response, a super compensation that's going to make me stronger, either physically or psychologically.
Mhm.
And so I would commonly overdo it, and it would lead to an injury, and
Sure.
then that would then go into extreme amounts of comfort. And I think people really miss that nuance, because they'll go to a job that they absolutely hate all day, and they can grit and bear it, and they can make it through the pain of sitting in a cubicle under fluorescent lights.
Mhm.
But then what do they do when they go home is they seek extreme comfort. And so they just plop on the couch, pop open a beer, and turn on Netflix, right? And
Mhm.
so they're just going between extreme pain and extreme comfort, neither of which are growth zones. The growth
Mhm.
zone is in the middle.
Yeah.
There's stress. Can be good. Distress, not good. That means you've overloaded the system and you're not going to learn anything new.
Right.
Total comfort, not learning anything new. You want eustress. You want
Yeah.
that stress that meets in the middle. And it I think for young people it requires guidance. And for myself, I'm 40 now. Just having lived, and I started paying attention, and I go, oh, if I keep doing that movement the way I'm doing it, that's going to lead to an injury. Or I might be like, oh yeah, my legs are really burning, and I can actually push harder when it's not injury inducing than I used to be able to, because I'm present with it. But I think that there is, as a human being, if you want to master yourself, being in touch and being present with discomfort is what's going to give you the information you need to know whether you should be pushing into it or pulling out of it. But most people are checking out mentally while pushing themselves physically, and that's why they don't understand why they got hurt. Or they don't understand the value of pushing into discomfort to get the reward of more physical fitness or mental fitness, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree with that. What would you like? What would you say is an example? I mean, I could think of one like cryotherapy. The stress, right? What's another good stressor that would help expand? Can you think of other things that?
Yeah, I mean, I sauna and cold plunge. Another one that is really uncomfortable for people is meditation. Can you sit still with your eyes closed, or a float tank? Can you get in a float tank for an hour? And that's uncomfortable your first time for everybody. Rarely is it not. Pushing a sled, get a sled and push it until your legs give out. You're likely it's a concentric only motion, so the likelihood of injury is really low, and the possibility of like most muscles, most injuries happen during an eccentric. The muscle is lengthening under tension, whereas pushing a sled, you're only getting the concentric. Or I won't say only, mostly the concentric. Sure. And so you can push really hard on that. That's why a lot of really advanced strength coaches will say, maybe you shouldn't do CrossFit. Maybe you should strength train and then push a sled, or do something that's creating a similar metabolic stimulus.
Sure.
Doesn't require you to do a lot of these really fast eccentric movements.
Okay. Do you do the CrossFit right now? Are you lifting weights? Do you kind of just,
Yeah, once a week I meet up with some guys, and I'd say 70% of the time we do something that looks like CrossFit. Okay. I am not shy to scale or change a movement because it doesn't serve me in the moment. Yeah, most of my training these days, man, I play around on the ARX machine a
fun.
bit. I have access to one of those, and
Nice.
I go to New Fit once a week for like rehab stuff, like finding what's not firing. I do that. I go for walks, go for trail runs on occasion. I'm going to be training for the Spartan race in September, so I got to start running again.
You are?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I do a lot of kettlebells.
Okay.
You know.
Do you throw a mace around ever?
Yeah, I do. I do mace a bit. I do rope flow.
Okay.
I like the clubs even better than the mace personally.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. It's you're not going to flow with them as much, but wonders for the shoulders.
Okay, so I actually just acted like I knew what you're talking about. I don't know. I'm like, oh wait, I don't know what a club is. Like,
it's a steel club.
Caveman.
Yeah. It's like human's first tool.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a club made out of steel, and you swing it around, or there's different things you can do with it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, if you just YouTube Indian clubs.
Oh, okay.
And then you'll be able to see people doing stuff with clubs. And yeah, I do a lot of things that involve rotation.
Okay.
These days, because I had so much. Yeah, I did so much sagittal playing, like front and back, side to side, that there's like the other 356 degrees of motion that I could be working.
I think so. You need to come to one of my Kundalini classes.
Yeah, I would love to.
That's what we do. We move our spines like this, and then we do what's called the Sufis grind.
Yeah. I've done some Kundalini.
You have done?
Do you host them online, or do I have to come to Minnesota?
Both. Yeah.
Okay.
Invitation, and I do a Facebook Live with my friend Jeremy, who's like this super crazy cosmic galactic dude, and he does this thing called the inner chi. He calls it inner chi transmission. And so he like does tapping, and he'll do some Tai Chi. We did some animal like Qigong the other day, but I like do maybe 20 minutes of Kundalini, and then he does 20 minutes of that kind of movement. It's actually really fun.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it's totally free. Facebook Live. You have to come on Facebook though. And it's are you in Central Time?
I'm in Central Time. I want to use Facebook more, because since Instagram started doing reels, no one will read shit on that platform anymore. So I gotta.
Oh my God. Yeah, we've noticed that too. But it's at 11:11 every Tuesday.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd love to have you. I'll send you a link.
Okay, please.
It's just like it's my private Facebook page, but we've started to get like a little following on there, and it's actually really fun.
Nice. Yeah, send me a link.
Yeah. And actually, your fiance might like it too. It's for everybody. So Ashley, right?
That's right.
It's very unforgettable. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you guys are welcome to come up to Minnesota anytime you need to cool down. So
excellent. Yeah, we need that. Yeah.
Oh, and I do have something else I wanted to share about the float tank, because I think that's a brilliant suggestion, along with the cryotherapy, because when I got married, I was like, because I'm an artist, right? Like, so I'm designing our wedding, and I have all these ideas, and for 3 months, Mike, I'm like, okay, I like this color, I like this, and I'm just all over the place. I freaking went into a float tank for 90 minutes my first time. I didn't know it was going to be 90 minutes. It was a Thaddeus surprise. And I was like, I'm not prepared. I wasn't even mentally prepared for it. I smoked a little THC before.
That's a good move.
I know, right? But I was like, wait a minute. I don't think that was quite the move for me at that time.
Not for your first time, no.
No. And then the one that I can't remember if I was in the pod first or the big pool, because there's 2 different ones at the spa we go to. And for 90 minutes, I was like, I literally, you guys, I created the entire wedding. It was done.
Oh yeah.
Everything. Yeah. I was like, this was the best.
Oh, the strong coach happened in a float tank.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just the most incredible creativity generator I've ever experienced. And I was like, when I first got in there, like I was so uncomfortable, and I'm used to meditation and doing all this stuff. I can sit with my eyes closed for hours. Dr. Joe Dispenza, week long, whatever. And I was like, oh my God, I have to be with myself for an hour and a half. Are you freaking kidding me? Just sitting here floating. Like, what am I gonna do? I was like, I don't know. And like your mind just starts like kind of peeling away, and you're like, okay, I got this. I'm going to entertain myself a little bit, or you like meditate or breathe, or, and then all of a sudden I designed the wedding and the time was up. And I was like,
Oh, wow.
that was amazing.
That's
so
cool. You did the right thing then.
Totally. So read Jen McKenna's books and then go float. No, I'm just kidding. That's torture. That would not be good. I'm kind of politically incorrect. Maybe. You're like, maybe. Okay, we have to talk about your wild boar thing. Let's like segue any drug talk into that.
What are we talking about?
The wild boar.
Oh, the wild boar.
Is my mic still mic'd up? Am I still mic'd up?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, I for years I sat and I got in a lot of conversations with people over like the ethics of food. And I live in a community where 85% of the population was either vegan or felt bad about not being vegan. And
because you're in San Diego, right?
Yeah. Encinitas specifically, which is
that's right, Encinitas. Okay.
Yeah,
that's where isn't Neurohacker there?
Yeah. Yep. Those guys live right down the street from me. So,
okay, cool.
Actually saw Daniel Schmachtenberger last night. He was
really
through Austin. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Ran into him at the sauna. But
nice.
I got, and then I read Michael Pollan's book, Omnivore's Dilemma, back in 2011. And that really like opened my eyes to the idea of regenerative farming, and just I started paying a lot of attention to food. And ever since then, I was like, oh, because I hunted when I was a kid, but I stopped hunting when I went in the Navy when I was 19, and I just stopped hunting.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, you know what? I want to start killing my own food. And I said that for about 5 or 6 years, where I was like, I should be killing my own food. But my lifestyle I didn't make it a priority. My lifestyle didn't fit. I was nomadic. Like I wasn't going to be hauling guns all over the place in my truck, or, flying all over. You can't do it, especially leaving the country. It just doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And if I kill something, I can't take it with me because I don't have a freezer in my truck.
Yeah.
But, so I got to Austin. I go, look, I'm just going to, I'm friends with Monzel Denton, who runs Sacred Hunting. And he was like, yeah, you want to go hunt with me? We're going to go hunting every 2 or 3 months for the year. Just pay this flat rate and you're in for all of them. I said, okay, I'm doing it. I'm just going to, because I knew that if I didn't pay that money to go hunting for the year, that I might've hunted once, but knowing that I signed up for like 5 or 6 all at once.
Wow.
And, because I knew that I know myself. And I tell my classes too, is like, you have to pay money to pay attention a lot of times.
Yeah.
Right. And I go, oh, I'm going to pay for this, and it's going to have my attention. Now I have a 20 cubic foot freezer in my garage, which I can fit probably like 4 cows in there.
Wow.
And my goal is to fill it up. I've been wild boar hunting here in Texas.
Okay.
Been aoudad hunting.
You've been what?
Aoudad. It's an African ram.
Oh.
It's like a sheep.
Huh.
And in Texas, the ranches here have a lot of exotic animals.
Oh.
Yeah. So most of the land is private here. So there's a ranch, and what they'll do is they'll import an animal, let it breed, and then we hunt them.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of animals that are in greater population in Texas than they are in Africa, where they're from.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea. That's crazy.
Same for tigers, but we don't hunt those.
Good.
But I've been, I'm on a mission to be able to completely, all my meat comes from hunts,
Nice.
and which I'm like probably around 70 to 80% of my meals are from exclusively from meat that I've hunted.
Okay.
And yeah, it's been a really, one of the reasons I did with Monzo is because his mentor is a Native American guy that's passing down a lot of the rituals to him. And so just bringing a new level of intentionality to the hunts, doing a ceremony before, ceremony after.
Nice.
Bringing that intention in. It's very different than how I did it when I was a kid. So not that we did it poorly, but there's a greater reverence that we're able to bring to the animals now. So, and sometimes I eat, their hearts and testicles.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Hearts, testicles, liver. That's probably my favorites.
Okay, so actually, I think I saw a picture of you holding the heart, and I was like, what if there's like heartworm, or like, what if there's parasites in the animal?
Certain animals. So yeah, in hunting, there's certain animals that do carry certain diseases, but they pretty much have it nailed down to certain species in certain areas, and then you can get things tested too. So you take it to processor, and the processor can test them. If some animals are just gonna be clean, like I'm not gonna eat a wild hog organ meat.
That's what I was like.
I just don't eat the organ meat, but the ram I will.
Okay. Like, are you out there in the field like
Not every time, but every once in a while you gotta,
really
freak your buddies out.
Oh
if I bring someone new out there, we're definitely eating testicles.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You have to get Thaddeus out there. He would love to do that. Like, it's on, like, I think it's on his list for the year.
I'm co-hosting a hunt with Monzel in the middle of November.
Okay. We'll sign him up.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. It's so funny. Like, I love how you're like, I know myself and I'm going to sign up for the whole year of, whatever. And you haven't even done it. Like, most people like try it out to see like if that's something they want to do. You're like, nope, I know myself. I'm going to do that. I love that.
All the way.
Yeah. You're like an all in. You're all in guy.
Yeah. So done 3 hunts this year, and I'll probably do 5 more by the end of the year, because I stacked some new ones in.
But are you eating the wild boar meat?
Yeah.
Number 1. Okay. And then number 2, does Ashley eat the wild boar meat?
She does.
Okay. And then
I've had to get really good at cooking for her to eat animals that I kill. Yeah.
Okay. And then how does it taste, like, compared like to a regular pig, or like what? Because I eat meat. Like
it's great. It's great. Yeah. The meat that you're getting in the store has probably been through some type of preparation.
Yeah.
And so you just got to learn how to do like a healthy version of whatever they're doing to the meat.
Okay.
Like right now I've got a bunch of pork shoulder from a hog we killed, and I got it in the crock pot, and I used apple cider vinegar, some coconut aminos, honey, a peach. I grinded that all up, and I put it in the crock pot for 8 hours, and it's going to come out as pulled pork. It's going to be delicious. It's going to be, paleo-ish.
Yeah.
And really, really healthy. I mean, I'm primarily carnivore.
You are? Okay.
In my diet. So, but I do spice things up. I'm not like 100%,
You remember Nick Zahaski?
No.
You remember
Nick
him?
Zahaski.
Nick Zahaski. He's the chef friend of ours, lives in Minneapolis.
Yeah, I think I've met him.
Yeah, he's like the most strict carnivore I've ever met. And I think sometimes he just eats raw.
Yeah.
Carnivore.
Well, that's what got me. I mean, I eat raw liver every morning.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
At like what animal?
I switch it up. So right now it's lamb, but sometimes it's beef, sometimes it's aoudad, deer, elk. Yeah, I try to keep a rotation going.
Do you believe in the like eating for your blood type situation?
I read into that, and for my blood type, I don't know. It just didn't make sense. I think there's some truth to it. I think there's some truth to it. I subscribe more to eat what ails you.
Yeah.
So like
Nice.
the old Chinese medicine ideas.
Nice.
Yeah, I've tried a lot of different things. Yeah, what do you think about the blood type eating?
Yeah, so I have subscribed to that from like 20 years ago, and I don't know. It seems it's so weird because like I'm an O positive, and anytime I
So you should be eating a
over,
lot of meat, right?
yeah, and organ meat, like I should be eating your diet according to that.
Yeah.
And if I veer away from eating too much vegetarian meals and not getting enough sunlight, as it's like blaring into me, I don't feel like optimal energy. And then I put more protein back in my diet, and I'm like, because I should be eating like, according to that, bison, venison, pheasant, like all the wild, Native American type, great spirited animals. And I thrive on that stuff. And it's true. It's like, but is that my belief system? I don't know. I spent some time in the Fort Myers. There's a pyramid, the pyramids there. I think I talked to you about that, the retreat that we lead. Did I talk to you about that? Yeah. And I just, all we did was juice, and there was so much sunlight that I feel like there's a give and take, that my body was optimal. Like I felt so good, and I had no protein. I had no meat other than like some cashew, milk or whatever was in one of the shakes. So I don't know. I think it has a lot to do with like light and your environment, and your entire body is so different than anyone else's. I don't think like there's I don't think that there's a one type fits all, situation for anybody, because we're all unique. So I don't know. And that's like part of what
ancestry has something to do with it too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like I'm fair skinned, blue eyed, like, I'm from really cold coastal areas.
Yeah.
Like I'm probably gonna not need a lot of sugar, probably gonna eat a lot of like fermented foods and meat and lots of fat. And so I thrive on that. But if I look at my fiance, who's, most of her ancestry is from closer to the equator,
right?
She probably has a little better on, a lot more fruit, maybe a little less meat.
For sure. I know, I was surprised because I have my ancestry too. It's Norwegian and Eastern European. I have some gypsy blood, and I was thriving in that equatorial light environment with the fruit. And I'm like, I think we can adapt and change too to like our environment. And I think, it's just so much of it is like your belief. Like if you think you can thrive there, then you're probably going to thrive there. Right. Yeah. So I love, there's so much conjecture all over the place on diet and everything. And I actually made a t-shirt for the podcast, and it says, eat what feels good. I don't know. I'm just more into my intuition these days too. And that's, honestly, I probably drink more urine than I do eat anything else. You knew it was coming, Mike. Come on.
I have something to admit. I've never drank my own urine, and I actually don't know how that's possible. Ashley was actually shocked that I hadn't done it. She's like, all the crazy shit you've done, you've never drank your pee. I'm like, no.
I kind of thought the same thing when I asked you about it, paleo, because I grabbed Mike at paleo, you guys, and I was like, okay, like, what have you been doing lately? And I'm like, well, we're into urine therapy. And he was like, what? You do what? I'm like, seriously, of all the people in all the world.
Yeah. I stopped trying new things like a couple years ago.
I have a sneaking suspicion you might be looking into this one.
Well, now I have to.
I know.
Check it with me tomorrow. I probably have done it by then.
Yeah, right. But okay, so that's like the health freedom piece for me, is like, it actually is your own like water, and you make your own perfect medicine from your own water. And when you make it, you're thinking of something, and it's so cool because it's like they talk about it and they're like, it's not a medical thing, it's not a holistic thing, it's all on its own because it's metaphysical and it's beyond.
All right. So what are common benefits? What do people report back after drinking their pee?
You got to start watching my videos. I've got all of it on our YouTube channel. You're a subscriber.
I am. I'm a
Yeah.
terrible consumer of content.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. So like in my own healing, and I can speak for other people, but I'd love to just speak for myself. I was given antibiotics my entire life. I had ear infection after ear infection, throat infections. I had mono. In high school, I was out for a month of high school, and all these issues. And my mom just kept giving me antibiotic after antibiotic, and it did me no favors. And I don't like to like even diagnose things and say like there was probably a huge candida buildup in my throat and my lymph and all of this, right? So I've been dealing with that my entire life, Mike. And I had a breakthrough. I've been doing urine therapy since last August. I'm coming up on a year. Last November, I had a breakthrough where I like, and the symptom is like I can't equalize my ears. You know, like you get on the plane, you have to equalize. I constantly would be doing that because there was so much stuff built up in this canal, or what, you know, like, and I went to 5 to 10 different ENTs. Nobody could help me. 3 months on urine therapy, just drinking my morning urine is gone. It's gone. It's been my whole life. And I'm like, what? So then Thaddeus has this rash for 14 years. And he's been to a few different docs, you know, before he kind of got into biohacking, gave him all these creams, blah, blah. 14 years in the making. It was gone after he applied fresh and evolved urine. Okay. So there's two different things. You can evolve it. You can ferment it, and it gets trillions of stem cells every single day. It's so unbelievable. I'm not kidding. And like the Oramus thing, you can grow Oramus. You can grow a mushroom in it, a human mushroom. It's so crazy. And then those people, like, it's the gold. That's
all right. How did you find out about this?
From Nick Zahaski, the chef. He started doing it. And then I listened to a podcast from Amanda Vollmer, and she started talking about it with like helping her kid with the bee sting, because it's anti-venom. It will, if you get stung by anything, the anti-venom is in your urine within 15 seconds. Her daughter would have gone into anaphylactic shock had she not put a couple drops under her tongue, and she had no reaction to the bee sting.
Okay. So, all right. How do I start?
You're going to need this information for your hunts. So if you ever get stung by stuff.
What do I do for my first time? Like, what's a good protocol?
Yeah. So you eat clean. I would say like if somebody's toxic, it would be different, right? So if you eat super clean, but that's the little caveat though, is like most people that do urine therapy are fruitarians. And Nick is the only one that I know of who is a carnivore urine drinker, because it is going to taste very bitter and salty. We eat. So be prepared.
You're a fruitarian. It's sweet, I guess.
Yeah, it's like it's like coconut water. You can tell. I had Thaddeus made me this pizza the other night, and it had Italian, the most beautiful Italian tomato sauce on it. I could taste it that night in my urine.
How often are you drinking your pee?
So I loop all day because I intermittent fast until like 11, and then sometimes 1. So I will drink continuously all day. But lately I've been doing a urine enema every morning, and it actually healed a creaky neck that I've had for 25 years.
Okay. All right, we're gonna have to go back on that one. How all right, if I'm gonna drink my pee, do I just pee in a cup and drink it right there? Do I need to put it in the fridge first?
People are all over the board on it. Some people are like, oh, you have to do the mid catch, right? Like the 15 or the midstream, like sterile catch. It's all pure and perfect and beautiful. And I don't believe like any of that stuff, but there's, like people are extreme.
So
and
pee a little bit and then catch after the initial breakthrough.
That's the idea. Yeah. So just take a little bit, but your morning pee has the most stem cells, the most hormones, the most there's enzymes, there's protein, there's carbohydrates, nutrients, minerals. There's vitamins, everything that your body.
Should I break my fast with urine instead of water?
No. That's the first thing you should have in the morning. I would start with just like an ounce. Yeah. I would taste it and see what you taste like, right?
It makes sense. It really does. I'm having a hard. The problem is your argument is way too strong, which means I'm going to be drinking my pee in the next 24 hours. Because once I learn something, I have to try it almost immediately.
I have a feeling you might even just like go do that after the podcast.
I might.
There's
Wow.
so many health benefits to it that it is just like, it will help. Somebody's asking online, will it help speed up the healing of a fractured ankle? 100%. Like start fermenting your urine and then take some gauze pads and soak them and then put them on your ankle.
How do you ferment them?
Yep. So that's a great question. Take your pee, whatever. I would also think about like, what are you thinking about when you're making your water? Okay. And then use that when you're in a really good mood. Don't be angry and then use your water because your emotions will come out into it as well. That's what I'm saying. Like this is metaphysical crazy shit. Yeah. And so if you're in a good place, take that urine, go put it in a glass container. It likes to be in glass, clay, no plastic. You can use metal, copper, gold, whatever container. And then
I use mostly gold containers in my
I'm
house.
sure you do. I mean, this is the Shiva teaching, right? The Hindu teaching. So put it in a quart gallon container, whatever, glass, and then take some cheesecloth, put it over the top, put a rubber band around it because you want it to breathe. If it doesn't breathe, it's going to get like that ammonia.
Like you're making kombucha.
Yeah, exactly. And then it will eventually, like if you have it around for like a year or so, it'll make a little SCOBY. I'm not kidding. It's like a little mushroom. And some people will take that mushroom, like they'll like dehydrate it, chop it up, snort it, or put it in back, reconstitute it. And it gives you a euphoric high. Yeah.
You snort your pee SCOBY. I'm in.
I knew you'd love that. So you guys, I told you this was going to be a
I've
fun
just been
topic.
looking for something that's, good to snort, like most of the stuff you snort's not good for you. So we got to find something that's good for you. Yeah.
I know. Well, I just made a video today on, I actually snort my urine from my hand every morning. Snort it. And then you tip your head.
Is it powdered or are you snorting water?
No, water.
Okay.
So like make water in the morning, drink most of it, sometimes save it for
Have you put it in a neti pot yet? You just like neti pot your pee?
You can, but you don't have to do that. I just put it in your hand, just put it in your palm. It's like so easy. And then snort it and then tip your head upside.
Pee in your hand and then just snort it.
Well, I mean, pee in a jar. I guess it's different for you guys than it is for us.
I can do a bunch of stuff with my pee that you can't do.
But the idea though is to like tip your head upside down after you snort it, so it permeates up into your brain. It actually decalcifies your pineal gland, and it's a cognitive enhancer. It will clear out. If you ever have a stuffy nose, no matter what time of day, snort your urine and it will instantly clear it up. It's the best biohack, dude, there is.
All right. Collect your research. I got to have you on the show to talk about this.
I will. I mean, I'll come talk about it. It's my favorite subject. That's why I have my video series, 100 Reasons You Should Drink Your Pee. I was at a party last night at this place called the Real Magic House. And it was like this groovy scene with like a vocal artist and then a live painter artist. And I was in this anteroom, like talking about urine therapy. And then someone said, "Oh, I'm watching your videos online." I'm like, "Is it the one that's 100 Reasons You Should Drink Your Pee?" And it was as if the record scratched and everybody in the room stopped talking. And they all looked at me and I was like, "Hi." Oh my God, it was so good. And what was the coolest thing, Mike, is everybody in there was like, "Tell me more. Like, I want to know more about this." And I'm like, "Yeah, like this is good stuff, you guys. We're just remembering it." Like, that's the cool part.
Okay.
I'll collect all the stuff you need.
I'm gonna pee in a glass jar in the morning. Yeah. I'm gonna give myself an ounce.
I would do an ounce. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like an ounce.
Like half a shot glass.
And most people, I would say just a couple drops because most people are really toxic. And like if you're doing drugs, I would probably do less. I don't know. You're not really supposed to take pharmaceutical. I mean, you're not supposed to use it, do urine therapy if you take pharmaceuticals, caveat. And then if you are taking recreational drugs, I would be very minimal with it. So like an ounce in the morning, maybe no more. I don't know. I think the jury's out on that. Like, I think it's all magical.
I've heard of people eating psilocybin mushrooms and then drinking their pee and getting even higher.
Yeah. And that's what, like, the whole Santa Claus thing, like Thaddeus can tell you the stories when you guys are hunting, but that's what that Amarita mushroom, then wherever that grows.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
Like the iconic little red with the white dots mushroom.
The Mario Brothers.
Exactly.
Mushroom.
They would feed that to the reindeer. And then the reindeer's kidneys would take all the really heavy toxins out, and then they drink the reindeer urine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard about this. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the same thing. But so like when I take qualia too, here's the cool thing, because like, people say, oh, you're going to take a bunch of supplements, you're going to have expensive pee, right? You just drink it and you just reconstitute it and you put them right back in. So when I take qualia in the morning, I'm getting a double dose of qualia without having to take more vitamins.
Become a cheap date. I like it.
Totally.
All right.
Yeah. So I'll help if you have any questions or need any, more suggestions, just let me know.
I'm just going to start off with an ounce a morning.
Yeah.
Just see how that goes.
Totally. And then if it tastes really bitter and salty, maybe drink a little coconut water before you eat some meat and then taste it again and just see how it.
I do eat some fruit. I do the Paul Saladino carnivore.
Okay.
So I bet my urine, it's salty and sweet,
You're sweet and salty. You're already saying what it's going to be. That's awesome. It's probably going to be sweet and salty.
I know my body.
There's people on the Shivambhu channel that they're a husband and wife pair, and they actually drink each other's for like intimacy type thing. Thaddeus and I, we did our first foot soak together the other day with the fermented together. And I tell you what, your feet, when you put them in the fermented urine, they come out looking like a baby's bottom that's just born.
So how do you my feet are the roughest part of my body.
Yeah.
If how long do I need to ferment this pee?
After 4 days, it becomes
how you keep
fermented.
calling it urine, I keep calling it pee.
It doesn't matter. Hey, you know what? Yuri, the word Yuri is like a Hebrew word for inner flame and inner light. Some people call it orin or urine. And then Thaddeus wrote Amanita muscaria.
That is, it doesn't matter how you spell it. We still can't say the damn word.
Totally. Oh my God, he's probably outside. What do you say? I pee in my, he pees in his hand. He's totally in. Yeah. And he was like, yeah, totally. But he was like, I'm not doing that. He was like totally cognitive dissonance. Like, I'm not doing that. And I'm like, I am, just going to try it.
I'm now like, I'm already visualizing how I'm going to communicate this to Ashley.
I know.
But babe.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Not only should you drink your pee, but you should drink my pee too.
I don't know, like that's going a little far. I haven't really there's people that do it, and I don't know. There's a lot of funniness around that, but
all right.
All right, Mike. Well, we've gone an hour and 42 minutes. So what do you think? Have we covered everything? Do you have any more questions? Do you have any more questions for me?
I don't think I've ever had such an extensive conversation about urine in my life.
Right? Good.
This is a real treat.
Oh, awesome. Well, I'm glad. Yeah, it is a treat. Like that's the beauty. So, okay, we're going to tell people where to find you, and we're going to wrap up this podcast, and maybe we can have another conversation. Oh, you know what would be fun? Let's do like, this is round 1, and then we'll do round 2 in a month or 2.
Sounds good.
Okay, let's do that. Yeah.
All right. Tell people. Show too.
Yeah, perfect. Now tell people where to find you.
Instagram, Mike_Bledsoe is a great place to follow me. You can also go to my site where I host my podcast, thebledsoeshow.com. And then I have the Strong Coach, which is thestrongcoach.com. So if you're a health and fitness coach that wants to run and build their own business, that's a good spot to go.
Awesome. Yeah, I checked out your website. It's really, really well done. Like I was like, ooh, this looks good.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, that's great. So, well, this has been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you for, I mean, honestly, like, thank you for all the teaching that you've done. I know you're like, I don't like to teach this stuff, but this is all learning and expanding and growing, and we're all doing this together. And it's great to be around another like mind who is, you know, forging this path, and another person who has read Jen McKenna.
That's probably the strangest thing about this show.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't know anyone that has read it besides Thaddeus.
Yeah.
So cool. Well, you guys are always welcome to come up to Minneapolis and hang out anytime. That'd be a hoot. So
I would love to.
Yeah, awesome. All right, Mike, we're going to sign off, and thanks everybody for watching the Pool Party Podcast. And everybody have a great day. Go taste your urine. All right. And thank you all for joining live. Let's see. How do I stop that? I'm going to figure out this technical stuff, Mike.
You can do it. I have faith in you. We're still live on YouTube.
We are?
Yeah. Well, that's what it says on my side. What's up, YouTube? How are you? Bye.
Okay, see, did it go away?